Let's bring down the tavern. Time for total party chill. There's a critical hit, critical fail. Hold your head, see that dragon, we can slay it. And we'll level up all night till we get to that big bad evil guy.
Hello everyone, welcome to Office Hours. Hope you're all having a fantastic Friday, the 22nd, 1 p.m. Pacific, heading into this long weekend. Let me go ahead and boom. Oh, there we go. Okay, team, we're here for Office Hours. That is where we do Q&A and I talk to you about some updates, some new features, yada, yada, yada. Let's go ahead and dive into what we have going on today. Let's see, bring up Office Hours here. Office Hours. All right, we are talking event updates, privacy policy, kids games, and top GM. That is what we got talking today. And then, of course, player bounties. So first, let's go into event updates. So some changes to events. And then, of course, if you have questions about what we're talking about at the moment, you can go ahead and just type question in all caps and then your question following. I'll go ahead and answer that. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, events. So we're making some changes to events, and that's because we haven't really updated the events side of like our application in quite some time. And so some of the changes we're making is there used to be, or there is right now, if the event is like Legend in the Mist, you can apply to run a game for that event on your side when you go and mark a session. But you can do that even if you're not running a Legend in the Mist game. That sometimes becomes a administrative problem where people are just marking games as part of events and they're not actually part of that event. They're like running D&D or they're running Ghostbusters. And that's just a weird problem. So we're going to be making it so some events are locked, and if you're not running that system, you can't mark your game as part of that event. That makes a lot of sense. Some other things we're doing though is there will be some private events. Now, what's a private event? Well, we had some people reach out to us a long time ago and then recently saying like, hey, we want to run an event, but we only want to have our group's GMs run the event. Or select GMs that they, like if they had a program of game masters that are already on StartPlaying, but they only want it limited to those GMs. So maybe it was like 10 GMs. Or we also had like a live event in Chicago. This live event in Chicago, anyone could have created an event for because it had an event page, but it definitely had some confusion because people were creating events for it that weren't in Chicago and they were just confused. So private events will allow certain GMs to participate in those events. The events will still be public, but that'll allow us to do like more in-person stuff when we start working on that. It's kind of like laying some groundwork for it, and allow almost some like semi-convention-like features, which is kind of cool. Especially if there's like organized play. They wanted to do something that's only the organized play approved GMs can run these games. So that's kind of nice. We're also going to be launching a programmatic events feature. So sometimes we're running an event like PaizoCon. It's weird to ask you to mark your event for PaizoCon because it's just, we're promoting all of Pathfinder, all of Starfinder. So it's weird to try to get all GM, like the amount of work we have to put in to get all GMs to go and mark my game as part of PaizoCon. Because you should all benefit from the promotion of that. So programmatic events will be, hey, we're going to be promoting all of this game system. If Free League is having like a Free League con, and you're running a Free League game, we should just be able to promote all the Free League games, just kind of like we do with the Free League publisher page. So instead, there'll be some programmatic events where we just say, hey, all games, all listings using X system are part of event. So you don't have to do anything. You're actually just participating in the event by default. Now we do this currently with some events, but we don't have event pages for it. We just say, hey, we're gonna forgo the event page. Instead, we're just gonna push people to the game listing page or the game system page. And this is a way to kind of like address that. So that's kind of why we're choosing this. We're also looking at having some kind of like event information in the GM dashboard. So when you log into your account, you can also see like the events that are coming. There could be in the future, that's where you'll apply for event rewards, which are separate from event participation. Event rewards are like, hey, I want to get this PDF if I participate in the event. And so that will maybe one day live there. Additionally, we want to start including the learn to play entry funnels in event listings. So if there is a Legend of the Mist event, having the learn to play entry point in that would be really good. So that is some of the event updates. It's a lot of administrative stuff. It's a lot of stuff that just kind of like feels like base level groundwork, but it leaves a lot of stuff for future of like kind of like convention stuff, in-person stuff. So I like a lot of the groundwork it's laying. If you have questions about any of that, go ahead and put it in the chat with question in all caps and then your question afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and read this question. We have GM Elias 2001 says, I have heard rumors about Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG getting an event following its spectacular launch. Is there credence to these rumors? All I got to say, crawlers, let's get ready. Get ready, because there's going to be some celestial loot boxes dropping for GMs. We're going to be going hard for DC Carl. That's how we call it. We don't say DCC because that's a different game. We say DC Carl. That's how we're talking about it. No, DC Carl is we are absolutely doing an event with. We are doing a bunch of stuff with. It's really exciting. I've been talking with the Renegade folks. I actually got to do last PAX Unplugged. I got to sit in on a preview of the system with some creators in early versions of it, but I'm very excited. So we are going to be a first party partner with DC Carl. So yeah, we also, hey, do you like where is it? Do you like Pirate Borg? It's not behind me, it's over there. Do you like Pirate Borg? Because we got an event with Pirate Borg coming up too. So get ready for Pirate Borg. And then, do you like Cosmere? Because get ready, we're doing an event with Cosmere. Let's see, who else are we doing events with? Those are some of the big ones. Yeah, I think that's the. Oh, do you like Invincible, the superhero role playing? Get ready, because we're going to do an event with that too. So those are some of the big events we have coming up. We have a Cosmere event coming up in pretty soon, and then we'll definitely be working with Daggerheart again. We're working on some programmatic stuff around that as well. So we'll be doing a lot of events. That's also why I wanted to do more of this event structure in this kind of like how our application works with events. Because we're doing so many events, I really wanted to make sure that we had a better admin and technical side of things. And then, of course, it's we want to be. Events will also have scenario filters now, so you'll be able to go to an event from a scenario filter, which we think is also going to be an added bonus. Okay. If there's no more questions about events, let's go to privacy policy update. So we will be. Because we're going to be launching kids games, that will be updating our privacy policy. So when that officially happens, you'll be getting an email about our privacy policy updating. A big reminder about that is we're going to be changing some of the tracking around GMs and kids because we have to keep kids extra safe. So there's going to be like, I forget what it's called, but we have this new software that we're going to be using that essentially is making sure that the people who are playing are the people who they say they are. But this is also part of like the safety features and security features we have with the background checks that GMs will be having to do. More of this will come out, but we are essentially doing like some assessing with the different like software partners for security. But there'll be a new privacy policy coming out probably July. And it'll be separate from the main privacy policy. There'll be two, but there'll be an update going out about the update. There'll be an updated privacy policy email that goes out. Oh, Nina said, what about Cypher, Devin? I haven't heard back from, maybe I heard back from Cypher. I think they selected a date, but I think it's post-Gen Con, so it's not on my current horizon. But I believe something has been picked for Cypher too. Pondsmith Art, question, Pathfinder 2e Remastered Beginner Box Adventure, Unlit Star was missing a map, level 2. What do I do? Pondsmith Art, did I give you that? Or Pondsmith Art, I'm not sure. Did I give you this? Can you rephrase the question? Okay. Any stats you can share on the events in terms of their performance? Yeah, your GM Chandler. Yeah, some events are fantastic for driving new players. I've actually been defining a playbook of what we're going to expect from partners moving forward. And we are bringing on another hire, more on that in probably next month. That's going to actually help with a lot of this, but there are, we've kind of looked at all the events we've done. We've kind of figured out what has worked and where partners have added value and where they have had lack of bandwidth or where they haven't been able to commit resources. And we've kind of figured out like what works really, really well. And so that's kind of like the new, hey, if we're gonna do an event, this is kind of the expectation. Can you commit to that? Great, we can do an event together. Because one of the big things is like events with StartPlaying don't cost our publishers money. In fact, they usually involve StartPlaying putting marketing dollars towards promoting the event or towards some way that increases exposure to the publisher or the system. So we've been doing a lot of testing over the last year of like, hey, what really helps drive awareness and sessions and growth in games? And there's a lot we learned. Like we found one event, the event did really bad, but we saw like a 300% increase in people playing the system that month. So the event's awareness did good, but the event itself did bad. So we did good getting people to play the game, but we did bad getting the event to work. So there's all kinds of stuff we've learned, but we know that this is really good at driving new players. The idea is like, how can we systematize it so we can do this often repeatable? Okay. Warlock Sanctum Games, can we keep kids out of our games? Will the 18 plus tags handle that? Yeah, Warlock Sanctum Games, so kids will actually be in a completely separate application. A separate, essentially a separate site that is wholly cordoned off from the core site. So kids games and adults games will be actually in two different searches. So they will not mingle with each other. So you won't have to worry about that for yourself, Warlock Sanctum Games. Let me know in chat if that makes sense. Question, there was no Unlit Star level 2 map that could be bought. Level 1 was free. How do I get level 2 map? Pondsmith, I guess I'm asking, did I give this adventure to you? Is this an adventure that came from us, or I'm guessing, Pondsmith, that this might be an activation that we're doing with Pathfinder, and you got a code from us, and the product you got from the code had missing stuff from it. If that is the case, then you'd want to contact whatever the VTT is for it. If it is just a PDF kind of stuff, you'd contact Paizo. But if it's on Roll20 or Foundry, you'd contact Roll20 or Foundry. But if you just bought the adventure separately from in an interaction with us, then I wouldn't be able to help you. Let me know if that answers your question. I think that's what you're asking. So Dream Sleeper says, question, so we'll need 5 reviews from parents when we apply for children's games. So right now, and I guess we can move away from privacy policy, start talking about kids games. Kids games are, there's going to be a few things you have to do. One, you have to get 5 reviews from parents that says, hey, this person has run games for my kid, or the child I'm a guardian of, essentially as a reference before you can fill out the app, or before you can submit your application. You also have to go through a sort of knowledge quiz. Like, you have to read some documentation and then you have to go through the quiz to know that, like, you understand the requirements for running kids games. And then you have to fill out the application, which is like, hey, do you understand that, like, if you run for kids games, you have to have your camera on the entire time. You can't have your camera off if you're running for kids games. Do you understand that, like, you have to do this if you're running for kids, and you have to go through all these steps? And once you fill out the application, if that application is approved, then you'll go ahead and you'll move into, you can go ahead and get your background checked. We don't have the cost yet for background checks. The cost to us is around $180 to $200. We're not going to put that full cost onto GMs. It's going to be probably something between like 35 to 45. And the idea is there will be some people who will join and kind of drop off, and this will kind of take care of that. And we're also trying to figure out, like, at what point does it make sense to then also pay that back to the GM? Like, hey, you've run 10 sessions, we'll go ahead and pay you back for that deposit. But the idea is we want to make sure that that investment is paying back on a GM who's put in the effort to become a great GM for kids games. So that's kind of like a tricky thing. So that's kind of where things are with the kids application side. Test your nerd power. Question, I'm Ben, trying to DM on StartPlaying. Hi Ben, nice to meet you. For a week, I did the onboarding, and I still haven't had any bookings. I have 4 games listed. How can I get bookings? Test your nerd power. I would recommend, after doing the onboarding, read the tip stock, read the best practices, and then join the Discord. Isaac the DM, will there be a way to recategorize your past sessions on SBG as kids games? Isaac the DM, there will not. Mainly this is more of a liability and compliance issue than anything else. There won't be, and you will be joining with many other GMs who have just no history on StartPlaying. They'll all start from zero. And I realize that it is unfortunate, but that is just, you know, kind of the de-risks a lot of the stuff for the organization and our GMs. We will also be moving forward with the idea that kids games, there will be no skipping to no charge. If you skip a session, as a kid, you're still, to remain in the game, you will still be charged. You can leave the campaign, of course, to prevent future charges, but if you want to remain in the campaign, you will have to pay for every seat every week. We have done a lot of research though, so GMs are going to get a ton of guidance around, like, hey, if you're running a game for 10 to 12 year olds, your campaign should probably be no more than 10 weeks. If you're running a game for 9 to 10 year olds, your campaign should probably be 8 weeks. If you're this, it should be this many hours. If it's this, it should be this many. There's a lot of stuff we've been working with educational consultants that will be provided. One of the reasons why, you know, the great thing about the we'll be charging every session is also the added technology costs are just huge in this. The compliance costs are huge. To de-risk a lot of this, so that will change what the take rate is just for kids games. Okay, we have question. With the upcoming inclusion of kids games on SBG, when can we expect NSFW filter for games or auto roleplay suddenly spent on time of the site inspire me with confidence as a parent? Those, well, I mean, one, Cartophilic, there's going to be a complete separation between the kids game site and the adult site. So they're going to be completely separate sites. So that's one of the biggest things right there. As far as that filter for core games, that's a separate question, but you won't see any adult, like even regular games on the kids site. The kids site will only be kids games. So that's the first thing. That's how we've kind of addressing a lot of even like seeing games that are like PG-13. So that's a huge part of it. And making that, and also like the site isn't designed for kids to use. It's designed for parents to use. That's a big thing that we are discussing here is we're not making a kids-friendly site. Like this is still for the guardians to use. Of course, there's going to be a lot of options for like the parent to be there, like, hey, what games do you want to book, honey, right? Yeah, but we're making it in a completely siloed version, so all the games they're looking at, and it's really cool. There's its own scenario filters. So it's like, do you want to play a dinosaur game? Do you want to play a superhero game? Do you want to play a cartoon game? Do you want to? So talking with a lot of parents, look for what kids look for. We've kind of created a whole new set of scenario filters for this new version of the site. Maz presents. I read best practices. Any quick tips, especially to hook players with bio or picks? Maz presents. Did you read the 99 tips? Did you read the not the best practice? Did you read the 99 tips, Maz? Because there's no way. I cannot believe anyone has ever done all 99 tips and not found success. I feel that the 99 tips is like the golden, that has every tip, because the 99 tips is also technically 147 tips because there's like sub articles in that have other 20 tips. So you read the 99? You did all 99, Maz. Because if you did all 99, then I think then maybe there's nothing left to do. But I read the 23. Okay, whew. I was gonna say like, there's no way you did all 99. It's on Discord. Just go to Discord, type !tips, and the 99. Yeah, I do need to do a. I think I could probably get to 666 tips if I tried. Is there going to be an option to opt out of metrics when running charity games? Cartophilic? No, there isn't. Charity games don't really affect metrics. I'm actually curious what concerns you about that. You can even do all the tip. Yeah, you're right, Bronze. But I think Cartophilic, we can move on to metrics unless anyone else has any questions about kids stuff. Go ahead and clean this off. Do we have any more kids questions? There we go, much better. We got kids games, required to pay seat, and top GM. Okay. And new merch. No, we won't do new merch today. Player-driven bounties. Player-driven bounties is next month. Kids games is. I think kids get. Here's the thing. There's more kids that play games than there are adults, which is like a bummer because I think all adults should be playing games. But I personally know like how impactful gaming was when I was a kid, and I think it would have been even better if I was playing these games even younger. So I think it's going to be great. And I think it's going to be great for GMs because even though I think GMs will be able to, I think it's going to be a great way to de-risk a lot for GMs that are wanting to run kids games, but do it in a way that also protects them, in a way that also is like really protects kids and makes us good stewards of that. Nina, how will the site prevent adults from joining kids games, like pretending to be kids? It's a great question. So one of the things is when you join a game, you have to do what's called a camera check. And so this is one. There's a few other things that our educational consultant and some of our lawyers have talked about, but this is one thing I'm going to talk about here. So the GM has to do essentially a camera check. When you join the game, there's kind of like this lobby that when you get into the GM and the kid, and the camera checks on to essentially say like, hey, there's a kid here. And the kid essentially like, hey, I'm the child. Now, GMs are also called what's mandatory reporters. Anytime anything funky goes, the GM has to report it. It's kind of like part of the terms of service that the GM is agreeing to. But the GM does a visual check when they join. Now, if the GM starts to see something weird or like the camera's not working, the GM is going to have to say like, hey, I'm sorry, like if I can't do a visual check, I can't let you play. So that's and all this stuff has got really come down from some lawyers we're working with that have extensive experience in the kids space, the edutech space, that have given us some great guidance on how to handle this and how other companies have, and where people have essentially not done enough and what they've kind of recommended. So yeah, that's one of the ways. Type in tips. Okay. Cart of Elec 1910. Tell me more about charity games and metrics. We can talk about that as well. I might have missed it, but when will the GM application process open for kids games? Joseph Wilson 34. I do not have an answer for you. Once we finish kids games, we will announce it. The first, we will be emailing and announcing GMs. It'll be in waves because we're going to open it up to a small amount of GMs and slowly open more and more over time. It's going to kind of be in waves until we find that kind of like that product market fit traction. Let's see. Okay. Okay, well then let's go ahead and talk Top GM. So Top GM, so when we started Top GM, we had a few models that we used for what we expected notification and churn. Cesren, you might have missed this. Do you have a recommendation for best places to advertise your games? Yeah, go ahead and exclamation point promote in the Discord, and there's a bunch of places you can go and advertise your games. So on Top GM, we had done some modeling of like, hey, what is the likelihood of GMs who will be notified and the likelihood that they'll churn from Top GM every month? And there's about a 20% churn rate. So 80% of people who were notified will end up going back into Top GM. The first go, there was, I think there was something like, out of people notified, there was like 400 people that just had, no, not 400. There was 140 people that had stopped running games. So there was a lot more people when we first started that were just like, oh, this is no longer a GM on the platform. So we've changed, but when we looked at that, we were like, okay, 20%, that is a churn. But that was also because we were using this, what was it? I always forget how to say this. What was that? Yeah, exponential moving average on a lot of the data. We're now moving to a little bit more dynamic data. So one of the new metrics we're using, and in the June 1st email, that we're actually changing. We're going to be talking about, hey, these are the metrics that you missed, and this is what you need to do to change. So we're getting rid of onboarding. Onboarding, we looked at what happened in some more live data with some GMs, and we changed it with this dynamic data of last 90 days. So if you run 30 sessions in 90 days, we noticed that the kind of same performance metrics fit with the outcome we were looking at the earlier modeling of onboarding. But onboarding, there's not enough data for. But sessions within 90 days, there is. So that's why we're moving to this. Now, people like GM Charles, I'm sorry, GM Charles, this is going to knock you out because you haven't run any sessions. I mean, I'm not that sorry, because the idea is it's supposed to be active GMs. So if you have run 30 sessions in 90 days, that is one of the metrics that is looking for, and it'll no longer be taking onboarding. Now, it's mainly because we looked at onboarding, and if you're not recruiting players, but you go to recruit players later, because of EMA smoothing, it could knock you if you're, 6 months ago, you had a bad onboarding, but that was 6 months ago, and EMA smoothing doesn't recycle to a flat new number. And EMA smoothing doesn't essentially use what's the word? Back to zero, where there's no new data, so let's go ahead and just consider this person approved because we have nothing to calculate. where some other data we do. So we're moving to one of the things being dynamically calculating how many sessions has someone had in the last 30 days and getting rid of onboarding. Let's see. But then the other ones we're going to have in the email. So it's like if you are being warned, you're going to say like, hey, here's one of them. I think the only thing that you really won't have control over, because onboarding is a really hard one to have control over, because if you're not bringing in new players, you really can't affect your onboarding too much. But your retention is really clear, right? Retention is probably one of the best indicators of GM quality. Because if your players are playing with you a lot, like they're going to keep playing with you. But onboarding again is like it's a little bit more out of the control of the GM, because if you only have one player, that can change your onboarding dramatically. But most top GMs have 15 or more players. So one player dropping doesn't really change their retention dramatically, because they have a much larger pool, and so they get a much more realistic idea of that. While onboarding can just change too dramatically. So that's one of the reasons we got rid of that. And then within 90 days, if you take a vacation, we notice most top GMs who take a vacation, we looked at kind of some of the data where a top GM would drop out for 30 days because they took time off, would still come back because they would come back in another month and they'd still have those 30 sessions within 90 days. Excuse me. So that's how we came up with those numbers. Let's see. Okay, that's not a question. Let's see. One of the things you can control, though, is if you get a strike from support because you've broken the terms of service or the code of conduct. Now, strikes will last on an account for a certain amount of time. This will be announced on June 1st, what that time ends up being. But strikes will drop off as far as how they apply to top GM calculations eventually. The amount of people who get strikes is very small, but breaking the rules, by harassing players, by any of the code of conduct or terms of service stuff, search manipulation, all that stuff can end up with a strike. So if you get a strike, that could get you kicked out of the top GM badge. But let's see. Got to have good reviews. Got to have verified. Oh yeah, you got to have verified reviews. I forget the amount, but you'll see it in July 10th's email or June 1st email. There's going to be a minimum verified review count as well. So a lot of these things you'll be able to control. Let's see. And we looked at it. The churn difference is dramatically different. The churn goes from 20% to like 6%. So it reduces dramatically. And we think we just found like more stable metrics that don't sway as much because they're not as outside the control of the game master. Let's see, question. Regarding strikes, a direct question from a player I received. Will there be a way for players to blacklist GMs? Maybe a Highlander type rule for the ultimate top GM. There can only be one. Sorry, that's two separate people. WIG TWA, what do you mean? Like block? You can block GMs. But I don't know what you're asking, or I don't know what your player is asking. Carto Felic, when can we expect the changes to come in effect? June 1st. June 1st is when the next calculation is made and notifications go out. So if you're not a top GM, but you're then in the new calculation, you'll get an email that says, hey, congratulations, you're a top GM. If you are missing any of the new metrics, you'll get an email saying, hey, you're missing one of these metrics. Here is the thing that you're missing. It'll say like, here are the metrics, and you'll be able to see which ones you're missing. And the thing is, we removed a number of the things that we felt like, this could be gamed in a weird way, and we went to things that we felt, if people game these, they're only becoming better game masters. Like if you game your retention, like you're only playing with your players, you're only being better at that. So we essentially try to find things that, like, if you do game, you're just being better at being a game master. So that's why we've kind of instituted a different set of metrics, while at the same time trying to see, like, hey, what makes for a more stable with the same outcome for players that come into the site. Let's see. Here's the thing, Nina, that is a huge technical burden. If the technology allows for that to be easier, but looking at a single account and then saying, hey, what data is showing, hide that for this account, is just a high technical cost. That is just one of the limitations right now. Technology is always getting more advanced, and there is things that make that stuff easier, that is happening day after day, or every week new stuff comes out that does make things easier. Right now, that type of tech is limiting by the expense of it. Not by the expense in dollars, but the technical expense. Let's see. Any more questions on Top GM? If you have questions, I'm actually just going back. Oh, Carlo Felic, I am concerned because I didn't think that charity games were being part of the metrics. I have been running more obscure games and they're not always filling up. Cartofelic, that would affect you for onboarding score if a lot of your games had new players. But as far as tilt rate, that doesn't really affect your top GM status. The more your charity games won't really affect really much how the new calculation goes. The onboarding would probably be the thing that would affect it most in charity games, but that's kind of changed. Martiki, if I'm a top GM, you're gonna have to wait June 1st. Could you repeat the new metrics? I only talked about one of them, Isaac, but June 1st, the rest will be announced. It'll be in the email, and there'll also be an FAQ doc about it. But the biggest one is, have you run at least 30 paid sessions in the last 90 days? And that is going to be one of the largest indicators, along with having a really high retention as well. Those are in retention has kind of stayed. We got rid of onboarding. That's one that we got rid of. But some other ones like having good reviews, having verified reviews, that stuff is going to kind of tame, not having strikes. But anything else will be included come the June 1st email. R. Martiki, I'm currently a top GM and I have a number of strikes. Will I lose it in June due to new metrics? I think the strikes have been part of the calculation already, so I think you should be okay. But the strikes, in June 1st, we'll be talking about like how long those strikes last and when they drop off as far as the calculation. Let's see. If they don't have conversations with the G. Oh yeah, well, that's a bit of a workaround, but yeah, that's absolutely possible. Okay, that is Top GM. So we talked about Top GM, we talked about event updates, we talked about privacy policy, we talked about kids games. Let's see. And we can't talk about new merch because that didn't go through. Have to wait till first week of June. Player-driven bounties, we've kind of already talked about. There's nothing new there. We talked about a bunch of events that are happening. I think that's all we have to talk about. So we got plenty of time for questions, if y'all have them. What questions do you have? Wait, there is another event we have. We have a event that will be happening, and there'll be an announcement very soon. It is a sort of, and I've talked about this before, a sort of workshop event. Hey, like, are you a game master? Do you have knowledge that you can share with other game masters? I.e., like GMing 101, how to prep, how to do voices, how to run games on Roll20, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things that you feel you can teach other GMs. And these could be GMs on StartPlaying. These could be GMs that are just home GMs that want to become better GMs. So that is the kind of goal. Is we'll have something in, I believe, June, end of June. So there'll be more of an announcement around this, but start thinking now, if you feel you'd be a great teacher, you got a workshop in you that you want to start teaching. This will be a little bit different from GM webinars. This is kind of you just listing something. We're going to do a big promotion around it, like, hey, come and learn to be a fantastic game master, fantastic dungeon master, learn from the best, learn from the pros. We're calling it Dungeon Masterclass. This isn't the art for it. But I was trying to make something cool. And so I found a cool graphic on Shutterstock, and I was like, that's fun. I like that. And it's gone. It disappeared. Let me take a photo of it again, upload it. But I found this graphic on Shutterstock, and I was like, oh, I like that. That's fun. Maybe this is what. Look at that. Look at that little guy. He just wants to teach you stuff. That's all he wants to do. He just wants to teach you how to be a wonderful, This isn't it. This isn't the graphic, but get excited because it could be. No, it won't be. It'll probably be something better. But how can you say no to a little frog wizard graphic, right? Okay. Is there going to be a Devon photo op meet and greet at Gen Con? I will definitely be at Gen Con. And if you are a game master, we will be having a happy hour at Gen Con on Thursday. So please keep your Thursday nights open. Also, we will be announcing probably in the next 2 weeks about, hey, are you a game master? Do you want to get a sick as heck headshot? Well, we got a photographer that we're flying out from California all the way to Indianapolis, and they're going to do headshots at Gen Con for any StartPlaying game master who wants it, and then for any other game master who wants it. And they're going to be really cool headshots, and it's going to be absolutely free. And we originally weren't going to fly someone out. We were just going to find a photographer in Indianapolis. But guess what? All of those photographers freaking bailed and ghosted us, and it was super whack. And so now we're actually just flying out a pro that I've worked with for many years, and he's going to do it, and he's great. So if you want to get a free headshot at Gen Con, it's happening this time. His flight's paid for, so it's happening. Nina, how's Doggo and Baby going? How's Sarah? How's Hunter? How's hugs for all the team? You have to ask Sarah and Hunter how they are. But Sarah just had a bunch of, actually, you have to ask them. But Baby and Doggo are great. They're fantastic. Sean Kieran. I'm a top GM and I keep seeing notifications that bounties are waiting to be claimed on the bounty board, and I never see any when I click the tab. It's because they go like that. There's one. I think there's one that's there right now. Sean Kieran. There's one for Fate, I believe. Is it not there anymore? Sarah, I only joined the GM side of SVG and running through my onboarding steps, setting up my first game. I'm impressed to your community mindedness. This stream is another cool surprise. Cheers. Cheers to you. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Van Goth ASMR. Van Goth, were you here earlier when I talked about Top GM 10 minutes ago? Let me know in the chat if so. Question, are you going to get the array of by humans for humans stickers updated in the art bin soon? is in the pipeline. I think you might be able to just to throw those in there. I think that might be I think you should be able to put those in there yourself now, Avid DM. I thought that's how that was set up. But if not, you can send it to support and they can just go ahead and upload them. If not, ping me again later and I can go ahead and upload them myself. But I thought maybe that's how it was set up, but I could be wrong. I thought it was set up that anyone could just add to that folder, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's where I was kind of confused, is like I thought you just added it yourself. Bengoth. Let's see. Faye Wild Witchling. Will we see Frog Wizard elsewhere in SBG's future? I think it's safe to assume there's always going to be a place for Frog Wizard in Start Playing. I think there'll always be a home for the Frog Wizard. Are you guys coming to Gen Con? Chris Webb, yes, we will be at Gen Con. Question, at this point, there is abundance of AI art. Even seen some long-term GMs start using AI art instead of hand-drawn pieces. Are there any plans against AI listing arts? I mean, it's really one of those, like, how would we even do that? I mean, that would take 20 people probably, just staffed to handle it. I think the card of Alec, what we're going to focus on is we have continued trying to find more art for GMs to use. And I think continuing to find more ways to offer human art is the solution that we're going to continue to focus on. There's not much we can do on the side of AI art. We've kind of communicated a lot that, like, hey, in our learnings, AI will not be very successful as far as drawing in top demographic. But people are allowed to use whatever they want because we can't really police AI art as far as like what listings are on the site because of the work it would take to remove or regulate. That's one of the reasons why we don't have like a filter to turn things off. What we're going to focus on is providing more art options. So that's why we're constantly working with publishers to get more art. That's why we are trying to get together a bunch of art every month from Shutterstock, made from other artists. I've also tried to reach out to a bunch of artists that have huge collections to hopefully license more art that people can use, which in turn not only provides artists with more money, but also provides GMs with more options. So I'm hoping that as we continue to do this, we see GMs see those options and be able to use them. Let's see. Is there any information on the Cosmere event? I'm also part of their Envoy team, so I'm interested in hearing more as soon as available. Not yet, but it should be probably sometime next week. Let's see. Time to tilt insight, the lower the better, correct? Is a bit alarming that when you see the big red arrow down actually improves. D. Ruckle, yeah, time to tilt, the lower the better. So, I mean, what it means is it's essentially saying, hey, this is the likelihood that your games, or this is how long it takes for your games to get enough players to start. That's the metric that it's tracking. Nothing is implausible. Question, are there any discounts at Gen Con badges available for GMs? We're not working with, we don't have like a partnership like that. We just have a handful of GMs who are running games at Gen Con, but we don't have discounted badges or a discount for badges. So I don't have an answer for that. Let's see. I only caught the tail end of it, so I may have missed the part something similar was mentioned. Van Gogh ASMR, go back. We talked a whole lot about the changes that are coming to that. So I would say like go back probably 20 minutes, and there's a huge rundown of the changes made that will probably answer a lot of your questions there about what biweekly. I don't think you really have much to worry about with biweekly because there's kind of like a 90-day window that's looked at, and biweekly that's 14 days, and so 90 days, you know, that's a wash. Let's see. I mean, bronze, it also, I mean, like, you know, people have also mentioned that, like, we could use AI to determine if things are AI, but we've looked at a few things, and one of the big things we learn is, like, the failure rate of those is really high. It determines that things are human-made, like, 30 to 40% of the time. Or the things that it says that there is AI, but they are human-made. So it is it's a difficult problem. But I understand it is one, because I do understand there's a lot of people that when they see AI imagery, especially, you know, like I've talked about this before, like I go to Pinterest and it's really impossible sometimes to use Pinterest because of the level of AI content. I used to use Google Images a lot, but it's very frustrating because Google Images is now inundated with AI images. And so I understand also wanting to have a filter out, but right now the technology that is available doesn't allow us to have that tool. And it would likely filter out people that don't meet that if we are using some sort of automation. And if we're using humans, we just would need a bigger staff, and we just can't take that on right now. So it is a tricky thing, but it is not a problem that we say we won't solve. Eventually, there's going to be something that really helps with it, but it's something that we're waiting essentially for technology to catch up to allow us to do effectively. Sorry, maybe I was unclear. I meant more that the player joined a game thinking the game was already weekly and then left the game, thus giving me a player that joined active game and left on my stats. Yeah, Van Gogh ASMR, yeah, I covered that earlier as well, around the changes to removing onboarding. Kyle Nielsen, yeah, we have addressed that as well. We could add a filter to Pinterest and now it's not foolproof, but it helps out a ton. That is nice. One, this happens more often than anticipated with Daggerheart. Van Gogh ASMR. No, Van Gogh, yeah, no. So if you're talking about onboarding, the onboarding metric has changed to be more focused on just play metrics in a 90-day period on session total. So we're now looking for, hey, has this GM had at least 30 sessions in the past 90 days? Because onboarding is just too rare of a metric because onboarding only counts new players, right? So if you have a repeat player, it doesn't count that. So if you're running one-shots, the new metric counts one-shots as much as it counts campaigns. And so we think that's a lot better. Van Gogh, let me know if that clarifies what I was saying. Kyle Nielsen, S8U, SATU. The biggest change is we're moving onboarding, but June 1st, there will be, the new calculation goes out, but the email will also say, hey, here are the new metrics that we've changed things to. But one of the biggest metrics is we've removed onboarding. We've moved to a dynamic calculation of sessions in the past 90 days. It doesn't, okay, great, perfect. Thunderstorm 924, thought this might be a toughie, but there's a general timeline and when to raise your prices as a GM. Well, it depends. Depends on you and the old ones. That's a question between you and your gods. I would say it kind of makes sense to raise your price every time you launch a new campaign in increments, depending on what you were charging before. If you were charging really low, then maybe go from 10 to 20, $20 in your next campaign. If you were already at 20 or 25, going up $5 to the next campaign kind of feels like a pretty steady progression where you can get previous players into the new campaign because it's within reach, but also not too much where it turns them away, but then it also kind of keeps a rate with other GMs in your size as well. But again, it's different for every GM. Let's see. Okay, team. We got 6 minutes left. Any other questions before we close out this week's office hours? And we jump into this long weekend. I hope you have tons of games planned or you have something fun planned for the weekend. I have games planned. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Let's see. It is so hot today, team. Oh my gosh, it's like 80 degrees in here. Admiral Adventures. For metrics, is there any possibility of adding the SPG average to the Insights historical average graphs that would really help where GMs stand with the rest of other GMs? So here's the thing. I don't like the Insights tab. That was kind of, and I want to change it, but I agree with some consult I got from Jeremy, which was if we touch it, it should be the last time we touch it. I like that advice because it causes so many problems. It causes so much debate and devices this and frustration. So the next time we change it, I do want it to be the last time we change it. And I want it to be a change that is really valuable. And so the change that we're going to make should include just tremendous value. And right now, it's not very valuable at all. And so it was one of those projects where, like, I wasn't as thrilled on the focus, but the next time we launch something with it, like, we're gonna make sure like it's just we knock it out of the park. But the thing is, like, there's more important stuff to work on right now than the Insights tab, and there will be a time when that is the focus, and we should be focusing on that. But right now, as we launch kids games, as we focus on events, as we focus on a bunch of partnership stuff, as we focus on a bunch of soon to be in-person stuff, this stuff is going to help really drive business for GMs as we focus on affiliate work, as we focus on all these things that is going to really drive business for GMs. Insights will get a retooling eventually, but I do like the opinion of the next time we touch it will be the last time we touch it, and when we do, we're going to add nothing but tremendous value of it. I don't want to add incremental value where it's like we did one good thing and it's like, okay, well, I guess it's a little bit better now. We want to just do one last update and just be done with it. Or just remove it altogether. But I do know that there is still a number of GMs that prefer to keep it and do find it valuable, but I just think we could do better. So that's kind of like the opinion of it. And the idea of an average or a goal would be valuable. I think we might use like the top GM of like, hey, this is where you need to hit. But I think there's some other metrics that like time to tilt probably isn't super valuable to see the average because it's just not as actionable for you to impact that number against the average of GMs. Even though like there are certain populations of GMs that have a different average than others. So I think some things like retention, that's like something that most GMs can impact. But others, I think, like might get removed altogether. Okay, sorry. Apologies for my rant. As more and more full-time GMs start working with SPG, what rewards can we expect for breaking work-related thresholds to the seniority in the company? For example, 10, 20, 30, 40 years on SPG. Man, I don't know. I'm going to be excited when we hit 10 years on StartPlaying. Right now, I'm really focused on a lot of product stuff, but there is like some kind of fun. I wouldn't say they're huge rewards. I would say they're acknowledgments. They're like fun things. But I think there's some stuff that we've kind of explored of like what does this mean and what is this value here? And I think a lot of it is how we're building out that long-term value in those tools and continuing to do that. But right now there's not much I can talk to because we're so focused on expanding the core that the long-term benefits are going to be kind of like after we've built out some of these new tools and we kind of figure out, okay, cool, what is the long game plan here for folks that are going to be doing this for 5 years plus. Odd Squirrel, yeah, you've been here for 40 years, you get your StartPlaying watch. Fey Wild Witchling. To beat the heat, you have to have you tried Ascension to a lizard person or acquiring Cold Blooded. No, it's just one of those things where I have this huge wall that's just blocking the AC. I just need to move it. Let's see. Isaac the DM question. On the note of not liking the Insights page, what would you want it to be more like? I have similar feelings. Could you say more? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that can be done. I think some of the team had already started brainstorming some ideas of what would be really cool. But like Insights could be everything from like, hey, like here is the estimated earnings that you're going to have this month based off of like your bookings. There's a bunch of ideas that some of the team had in a brainstorm of like what it could be. But a lot of the criticisms of Insights I agree with. But I think onboarding is a good metric in a silo or in a group, but as an individual, it's a lot harder. But retention is a great metric to look at if you are a GM who's running multiple games. It's a really hard metric if you're running a single game. It varies a lot. But if you're a GM who's running 3 or more sessions a week, retention is a great metric to gauge quality. So I think the idea of Insights is like, hey, what can you do? And I think also like there's an idea of Insights of like, hey, these from our idea of like what game listings read the best, right? From all game listings, these are the like you have 6 game listings that have a word count over X amount, and most games that get booked have a word count under this amount. Like I feel like that would be really valuable insights. And I've talked a lot about this. Like your game listing description should be 2 to 3 paragraphs tops. And we notice that like a lot of times people have these huge walls of text, and this is one of the big tips. But providing that, and we've had this idea of like having, when you fill out the listing, it kind of gives you feedback as you fill out the listing, saying like, hey, like this is really long. Like most listings that get booked aren't this long. So anything that can help drive that up. Other things is like trends, but a lot of trends, there's not a lot of trends that can really be acted upon in the sense of like when players are booking, because they continue to book on the same trend. And so if we tell all GMs like, hey, Friday's really popular, all GMs just schedule games for Friday, they just kind of overbooked. So you can give that, but like it doesn't really change. Like Friday's always going to be popular. You could say like, hey, this time is underbooked, but you won't know that there's demand till the player shows up, right? And the player books it. And there's no players coming to the site and saying like, I want a game for this time, and we know that they want a game for this time and they don't, right? We don't know that a player decided not to book because there wasn't a game at X time. And that's a really hard thing to determine. So telling you like this is when you should schedule your game is really hard information to give, outside of saying like there are players that are searching for every time of day. So that's why we lean really often on like, when can you run your best game ever? Because if you can continue to run your best game ever, that player will stick with you. The average retention is like 14 months, right? So run your best game ever, get that player to stick with you. You can expand your player base from that first table, so on and so forth. I haven't run any games since January. Will this negatively affect my metrics? I mean, if you don't have retention, that does affect your metrics, but it only affects your metrics for Top GM. If you're, and we talked about, Top GM, the difference between showing Top GM and not showing Top GM is a 3% difference when you have it, but is an 8% increase to the platform overall. So the effect to you, the Tej, is you probably won't have the Top GM badge if you're not running games right now, because you have to be running at least have 30 sessions within the last 90 days. Now, start running games again, and you can get back into that very, very quickly. Dreams, where's my Letterman jacket? SBG actual play win. Kyle Nielsen question, any thoughts on adjusting metrics based on the type of games run? For example, PvP have a different retention rate? Actually, Kyle Nielsen, great question. You want to know something wild? The retention rate and the onboarding rate between D&D and indie games is almost zero. This was I was actually writing I was going to write a Substack post about Top GM because I was like, I feel like I see these questions come up over and over again, the same questions. One of the questions I see all the time is like, people are always going to book with the Top GM because they see a badge and they're going to say, hey, why book with someone who doesn't have the badge? And I thought that too. When my co-founder was first proposing the idea of this, I thought this is going to cannibalize our business because people won't book with people who don't have the badge, and then they won't book because the people who have the badge only have so many openings. And this is my hypothesis. But the idea is when you are building a business, you also look like this is a common occurrence in marketplaces, right? And we also have this issue of we have a low onboarding rate of new users. So the idea is like, hey, if you have something like this, where likelihood of a new user seeing this badge, they'll probably book with this GM at a higher rate, and that retention will be higher. So I was like, the idea is this is a test. We're going to test it. We're going to see what happens. So we did it. And the results still to this day blow me away because it wasn't what I was expecting. It was the complete opposite. Remember, 11% of players who booked in the control still booked with the Top GM. So that means that players still identified Top GMs based just off of their listings, their presence, whatever. 14% booked when we told them they were Top GM. So there's a 3% delta, right? But that's like a 32% increase, right? Between 11 and 14%. But overall, the site saw an 8%. This is not just Top GMs. This is overall. The site saw an 8% increase in conversions when it was present. Right? We also saw a 10% increase in retention in the test across all bookings. So more people were booking and more people were staying longer, and we saw a 2% increase in first time spend. So people were spending more money overall in the experiment just because the badge was there. So it wasn't essentially cannibalizing our business, but the same thought, I had the same thinking, but the thing is, that is why we continue to use data to make our decisions. And so when we saw that, I was like, okay, cool. So that's also why we expanded it from 20 to 30. We want to keep expanding to see like, hey, can we keep these numbers as we expand the amount of people that are in it? And when does that kind of fall off? And so 30% was the sweet spot. So we started with 20, and we expanded to 30. We still had those great numbers. But I was still blown away by that. And so, but when before we even did this, we said, hey, what things do we think could affect the outcome of a player's play with a GM? And so we thought, well, maybe if they play in this type of game, they play with this game. Maybe it's a one-shot, a campaign. We found 46 metrics that we looked into when we did a random forest, which is a type of model. We looked at all of these, and we found out so many things have no outcome on the likelihood if a player is going to retain or not. System, no likelihood. And that was the craziest thing. We thought like there would just be a higher likelihood that D&D was going to retain higher. Not at all. And we think that's maybe because indie games have a high stickiness rate, maybe at the same rate as D&D, because people are really thrilled to finally play them, and maybe the people who run them are so excited about them that the passion kind of comes through. So there's a lot of assumptions you can make there, but there is very little difference between D&D, Pathfinder, and indie games when it actually came to the data we analyzed afterwards. I'm sorry, that was a lot. But yes, that was a really interesting outcome on the metrics. Okay. Team, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was quite the random rant. But let me know if you have any more questions. We're going to call it in 1 minute. I just want to make sure I got anything else. I didn't write all that down. Don't worry. I'll eventually release that article, but I wanted to write all the thoughts around Top GM because, I see these conversations often, and our goal is to make sure GMs succeed in building these communities through play. And so, if Top GM only did that for 30% of GMs, I think a great thing I always love to talk about is a hard thing about Twitch is Twitch can only service, Twitch can have a whale where one person can have all the users. You can have another million users that have no fans or no watchers, right? With StartPlaying, that's really hard to happen. At a certain point, a pro GM can't take on more players, and I think that is a great design because it allows it continue to grow, and there's no such thing as one GM that can take all the players. And by design, I think that makes for a better product. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's Blue Ocean. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, everything we do, the idea is like, if our GMs are succeeding, we are succeeding, right? It's also the idea of like, hey, if this is, and that's one of the things that we really came back to on like why we're going to also expose the metrics for Top GM is because we want GMs to become top GMs. We think that's great because if they become top GMs, that means they have succeeded even more in the path. And the more top GMs there are, the better. But also like, see now, hey, here's the path to get there. That's also great. And someone was talking about like getting more access to the bounty board. And if we see the claim rate go down where like there's less people, we'll have to open it up to more GMs. And that'll be probably like a, hey, top GMs, and then goes to, another round of GMs, et cetera. And we're going to, continue to see how that plays out. Okay, team, thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful 3-day weekend. I hope it's full of games. I hope it's full of family and friends. And I will see you all on the Discord. We'll be back here for office hours in another 2 weeks. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye, team.